Do you want to handle things? You've been doing this for the last couple of shows.
The compliments are unbelievable.
Yeah. Long list?
Oh, well, one.
Who's that from?
It's from a Jay Shannon in Mississauga. They loved the show.
The Olympic stuff was fun to watch from afar and listen to you guys break it down. And now we're back into the
hold on. We got to get your. But what do you think? What do you think of particularly the Canadian American teams?
Well, the American team with Jason Robertson stands out like everybody else. I was shocked at that, although they did make some adjustments to their team, which standing pat was I don't think an option for either side. It was intriguing to see where Team Canada would go with their goaltending. I thought I was expecting more the Colorado Avalanche, but Darcy Kemper's won a Stanley Cup, and I can't look past that. So I think both teams made adjustments, which they had to do going into the Olympic Winter Games. Canada's got all the skill, and the Americans have brought this gritty team together, which kind of goes against the two countries' histories. So we're going to see a fascinating battle in Milan, and I wouldn't sleep on Finland or Sweden on that side either. No, I think that we get sort of captivated by everything that's gone on in North America.
I basically tweeted that out after the Finns defeated the United States at the World Junior Hockey Championship, saying, guys, if this isn't a lesson learned, forget about at the World Junior level, but at the Olympic level, do not take the Swedes or the Finns or the Czechs lightly. There are 6 or 7 teams, I think, in the Olympic tournament that can win a medal. I really do. I think the Swiss can win a medal.
I've heard it said people were taken aback by the changes that Canada made, given that they won the Four Nations face-off. And I'm like, year over year, the way that the kids and the youngsters and the evolution of the game, you have to have change every year. Every roster needs change.
Let's remember what happened from 2002 to 2006, Darren. Canada won the gold medal in 2002 with a veteran team. And then they brought another veteran team to Torino and didn't make the medal round. And so that part is very frustrating. You have to be able to always change. The Sam Bennett story versus Tom Wilson versus Bo Horvat. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. By the way, after watching Matthew Schaefer again Saturday night,
yeah. Well, I thought if Saturday would have occurred on Tuesday, he might have been on the team.
He might have been. By the way, what was fascinating for me was Austin Matthews scored a great goal coming in on the offside and going around the goaltender, and Schaefer did the same thing. Mm-hmm. Exactly the same move. Exactly the same move at the same end of the ice. It was spectacular. It truly was.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcast. Darren Pang is coming up in just a little bit. How long will it take him to bring up golf?
Well, we'll probably bring it up before he is because we love it too. But he'll certainly have some golf in there. By the way,
we've got something going on in Chicago. You know that?
I think that what we're witnessing, not just in Chicago, but I think we're witnessing it around the National League, is a changing of the guard in so many ways. When you look at what's happening in Buffalo, when you look at what's happening in Detroit, although Pittsburgh won the home and home, which was shocking to me, we are seeing growth. What San Jose has done, what Anaheim has done, even though they've hit a bit of a wall. There is that changing of the guard going on throughout the NHL right now, Darren, and it's great for the game. It's fascinating for the game.
Do you feel bad for Buffalo? They win 10 in a row and they're still out of the playoff spot.
No, but they buried themselves early, but they'll continue to win. They got Vancouver in there tomorrow night, so we'll see what happens.
Feels like everybody's close, but it's hard to jump up spots.
Right. But isn't that always the case though, right? You know, you're 5 points out, but there's 7 teams between you and the 5 points. Mm-hmm. So it's always going to be a challenge. It's
couple
always
of suspensions to get to. I want to get your take on that, what happened on Saturday night. But first, Darren Pang standing by. We'll be back with the analyst with the Chicago Blackhawks as well as TNT on 100% Hockey with Millard and Shannon. Stay with us.
NHL TV is now on DAZN. Hockey lives here.
Here we go.
Watch every game from every team. The best players in the world. And the coldest plays on ice. Watch up to 4 games at once for the ultimate NHL experience. Sign up now at DAZN.
Okay, here's Darren Pang, and let's just walk through your schedule over the last 4 days. And this is a compliment that you're up doing the podcast, 100% Hockey this morning. Take us through your last week.
Oh, man. I can't even remember. Listen, 6 granddaughters for Christmas was the best ever under the age of 6 here in Chicago. I mean,
wow.
That doesn't get any better. Like that's you know, it's obviously it's tiring, more tiring for my wife Lynn, who cooks, you know, gets everything prepared and does all the planning for all these grandkids. But 3 of them from New Jersey, my son Tyler and his wife Meg, and 3 of them from St. Louis, my daughter Sammy and Luke, and it was just adorable. The grand gift or the grand finale was taking all the girls to American Girl doll, and you probably all know what that is, right there on Michigan Avenue. And we did it with our daughter when she was really young. And now the kids had a chance to go buy dolls and accessories. And then they had tea. Then they had tea time next. You set up a tea time and you bring your doll with you. And then you put it right beside you while you're having tea in a baby stool or chair. And so guys were not invited. So my son and my brother-in-law, I'm like, we're going right across the street to the bar. Let's go. So anyway, the culmination of Christmas and seeing these kids walk around downtown in their scooters or just being around with the big buildings and the loud noise and the trains, which they took, and them going to the Shed Aquarium. So I'll just say that was the very, very best before I get into the hockey. And then, then we went to Dallas the day of and came right back and then played the Islanders. Then we played Dallas, but I was traveling to the Winter Classic. So when I traveled to the Winter Classic, then I, you do your Winter Classic stuff. And then from the Winter Classic, right to Washington game that day, flew with the Blackhawks right after the game, right to for the game last night at 6:00. That was kind of a quick turnaround. And so, anyway, that was it. And then I went out last night with Bruce Cassidy after the game, longtime friend and former teammate on 5 different teams, I think. Bruce and I.
5 teams?
If I go down, I think I'd go 67s.
Memorial Cup.
Memorial Cup. Then we went, let me see. Then we went a little bit in Saginaw, a little bit in Halifax, Indianapolis, Chicago. Yeah, that would be your 5 teams. Yeah. 2 championships. I always like to say that because Indianapolis was an IHL championship.
That was Daryl Sutter, wasn't it? Was that Daryl Sutter?
That was Daryl Sutter. What a team we had. What a team. And every time I see any one of these guys, anybody there, whether Mike Stapleton, Brian Noonan, Jimmy Playfair, Mike Peluso, Mike Eagles, Bobby Basson, Jimmy Waite was the all-star goaltender. I just came in on rehab for 3 months, but it was a heck of a team. And Daryl ran that team like we were an NHL team and didn't take his foot off the gas. And that was, I learned a lot just going down there for 3 months, an awful lot being with Daryl as the head coach. He was a captain when I got called up to the Blackhawks, so I saw him as a captain. Then he was an assistant coach when he retired in 87. So he went right from being a player to an assistant coach. And that was the first full year that I made it. And then I saw that intensity right there and the relationship he had with Bob Pulford and the way that he coached. And I was like, wow. And then I got him in the IHL as a head coach. So great coach. Unbelievable. I mean, if you're not a man when you step in that door for Daryl Sutter, you're a man when you walk out of that door. That's what I'd say. And that's a good thing. That's a compliment to him.
Okay, before we do anything else, name all 6 children? Name all the girls.
In order?
I don't
by
care.
Family?
How do I know the order?
Charlie, Evelyn, Hadley, Scotty, Scotland, Peyton, Lucy, and I think I got them all there. That was 6, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I assume Scotland is Tyler's daughter because of the golf?
Yeah, and because my wife, Lynn, was born in Stornoway, Scotland.
Oh, wow.
And her name's Lynn. It was, nice little tie-in, huh? So you got a Scotty, you got a Charlie, you got a Hadley, you got a Peyton, you've got, it's pretty good. You got a Lucy, you've got a Hadley. Yeah, great names. I mean, I don't know how these kids come up with these names, but we're going back to the older, not older Stu, but Lucy's a classic name, I mean, and she's a Lucy. Like she's just full of character cool. I love Lucy.
So I had to ask that question before we get into hockey because that's more important.
For sure.
And if you can,
here they all are. Hold on.
Well, there they are.
They're St. Louis anyway.
Yeah. So then the girls can at least listen to the first 3 minutes of the podcast and not be bored. So you mentioned 2 names. I mentioned Daryl. Daryl's not misunderstood. We all know what Daryl is. Daryl one day should probably be in the Hall of Fame as a builder, as a coach. When you think about how many times Stanley Cup championship coaches are in the Hall of Fame, but is Bob Pulford one of the most misunderstood people in the game of hockey? Seriously, and I don't. I'm not trying to be. When you think about grouchy Bob Pulford, and yet once you're on the inside with Bob Pulford, you're on the inside.
You're exactly right. Bob Pulford, and where's that? Like have some smoke here and talk about Paulie. Daren, you gotta fucking play. You're gonna play or you're gonna go down to the minors. So I'm not sure what you're gonna do, but you're gonna have to do one of the two. Love that guy.
That was good.
Love that guy. When I signed, Larry Kelly was my agent. I signed with the Blackhawks. I got $2,500 signing bonus. I said, Larry, can I have Bob Pulford's number? Got his home number, and his wife answered the phone. And I said, is Bob Pulford there? She said, yes, he's here. Who is this? I said, it's Darren Pang. I'm just one of the newly signed players for the Blackhawks. Okay, I'll get him. Fully answered the phone and I had no idea who I was. And I said, I just signed. Larry Kelly's my agent, the Ottawa 67s. I said, I just want to thank you for the chance. And he said, that's good. That's good. You'll get a good chance. I said, I thank you for the $2,500 signing bonus. It was US, by the way. And he goes, well, you can buy yourself a nice sports car with that. And I think I got on the right foot with him when I said, what, a Pinto? And I think I used Pinto. Anyway, it was a funny thing. He laughed. And then when I didn't get called up in the minors, after I was in my 3rd year in the minors, and he kept saying I was going to get called up. And they were having a tough time stopping pucks, and they were giving up a lot of goals. So I called him at home after one of our games in Saginaw, and I called, and his wife answered, and I said, when Paulie gets home, can you have him call me? Here's my number at my apartment. She said, sure, he'll be home in about a half an hour. I waited. All the boys in the bar, they kept calling the house, and every time it rang, I got nervous because I thought it was Paulie, and I'm like, what am I going to say? And then the boys were like, get over to the bar. We just won. Everybody's waiting for you. And I said, I'm not going to the bar until Paulie calls me back. And they're like, oh, we'll never see you. Paulie calls. And he's like, well, Darren, Bob Pulford. And I said, Paulie, I just want to go back to what you said in training camp. You told me that if I was playing well in Saginaw and the goalies in Chicago were struggling, that I would get the call. You told me that. And I went through like the last 5 games of theirs, and I went to the last 5 games of ours. And he said, Darren, you're quite a boy for calling me at home on a Sunday night. You're quite a boy. He repeated, you're quite a boy. And I went, oh man, I am like, I'm never getting called up. Yeah. And I hung up. I said, thanks, Paulie. I appreciate you calling me back, and hung up and went right to the bar. And the boys were howling. They're like, he didn't call you back. And I said, Bob Pulford called me back. So when you ask about Bob Pulford, I think of a man that was honorable, that gave you a chance. And when he gave you a chance, he really wanted you to succeed. And I can go back to a lot of my teammates, from Mike Stapleton to Brian Noonan, just to name a few, that he wanted them to do so well. And on this particular case, 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from Bob Pulford, and he says, Darren, you're going to go to Halifax. And I went, Halifax? I'm not going to Halifax. I said, you told me I'm staying in Saginaw. We had a really good team. I think I might've been 28-12 at that time. And we were rolling. I love my guys. Peter Horchuk was my captain, Wade Dawson. We had all these great guys. And I'm like, I'm not going to Halifax. Well, you're going to Halifax. And I said, I'm not going to Halifax. You want to call me up? Call me up from Saginaw. So now I'm getting an argument with the guy that I begged to get called up, 2 weeks earlier. I hang up the phone. Click. Larry Kelly. Darren. Hey, Larry, how are you? Did you hang up on Pulley? Yeah, I did. You're going to Halifax at 4:00. Okay, I'll be on that flight. Bye. So I went to Halifax, joined Daryl Ray in Halifax, and then I got called up for the playoffs. And the next year I made the Blackhawks. So I go back to the relationship with Pulley and the fact that he actually called back, and his wife gave him the message. And, from that point on, I thought we always had a phenomenal relationship.
The only reason I asked it is because so much of, Bob Pulford was a longtime hockey guy, was a very good player. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame player, yeah.
But he got really tarred with the Bill Wirtz brush, and did and enforced what William W. Wirtz wanted done with the Chicago Blackhawks. Had a great eye for talent. Probably did more with less on a lot of teams, because the Blackhawks, as much money as they made, didn't have any budgets. It was just, so to me, I'm always fascinated with Bob Pulford in that there are
managing the team at that time, and no TV too. There was always under scrutiny because there was no TV, and I know Mr. Wirtz took it. He took great pride in the season.
But it was it was a small front office,
very small.
Front office operation. So when you look at the success of the Blackhawks after Bill Wirtz passed away and Rocky took over, and they had success. They had the new building, the Madhouse on Madison. You could see the growth, and you wondered if it could have occurred before. It probably could have, right?
Can you imagine if you go back and the fans got to see Denny Savard like they saw another number 3 overall pick, Michael Jordan? At that time, because I was living life at that time. The Chicago Bears, and at that point, you're talking the Jim McMahons and the Dan Hamptons and the Singletaries, and they were legendary in the city. And I feel bad for the great players like Doug Wilson and Larms and Savvy, and then later on, Rick Five had a great year, and Stevie Thompson. We had so many good character guys that if it were on TV like what Rocky did, boy, oh boy. These guys were rock stars already, but it would have been even more so. And fans would have seen the product in the Chicago Stadium where we played our best hockey, our toughest hockey. Yeah. So it was a luxury for the 20,000 that went every night. And I'm going to tell you, being back with Chicago Blackhawks, roaming the concourse, I go into there's a bar on the main concourse beside the Sonia Henning Room, which you remember, John, used to be in the old Chicago Stadium with Arthur Wirtz and Bill Wirtz and Peter after and whatever. And then they brought it to the new stadium, but they've got Rocky's bar right beside it. And it's got his cufflinks, it's got his ties, it's got Rocky Wirtz pictures on the wall where he was just a wee lad with Arthur and then with Bill, and really cool place. I go there after every single game. Every game. I walk up there and get a crowd of people love to be around. We hot stove, and I have one of Rocky's old fashions, and I think of the history of the team, and I think very proudly of what Rocky did. Even though I wasn't here, I wasn't part of the broadcast, but you're always part of the Blackhawk family when you played for them and worked for them, and I just think of what Rocky did and how he started the 3 Stanley Cups and brought it back and put them on WGN right away, and they were back to be the rock star show here in Chicago. So now we got to get it back to that.
Well, because in so many ways, for decades, the Blackhawks succeeded in spite of themselves. There were people clamoring for it, and it never happened. You know, and then the other problem was like for that whole you talk about Dennis Savard's era there. It's pretty hard when you run into the Edmonton Oilers every time.
Yeah, Edmonton. Oh, even getting through Detroit and St. Louis and Minnesota. The old Norris Division days were great, huh? Just fantastic, tough hockey, great hockey, and it's what's fun being back is seeing everybody. You know, Savvy's an ambassador, and you'll always see guys pop up. And it was with Bruce Cassidy last night, and I said, "What'd you do the night before?" Because obviously we were in Washington and traveled, and he said, "Well, I called up Noons." So Brian Noonan, his good old buddy, came downtown and they got to meet up. So it's I don't know. Hockey's such a great game, and the relationships are even that much better in our game of hockey.
So you phoned the general manager and said, "I want to be called up."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you get an ulcer in the next week?
Not me. I never have. I don't get ulcers.
Wow,
I'm very lucky.
I would have been very nervous about that.
No, because the first thing I said was, I think we played Muskegon that night, and they had like 48 or 50. It was it was a lot of shots, and we won. I remember we won 3-2. I was really on a roll. I mean, you're only confident in making a phone call like that when you know you're on a roll. And I had 2 really good training camps, including the one before I got sent back down again. And you'll love this. Jack Davidson, remember the assistant GM, Jack Davidson? So when you got sent down, you got called into this little wee office, as John was saying. It was small. I think it was dark wood, and it just, maybe a couple of leather chairs. And you got sent down, and they went back and forth. Paulie would say something, and, you got to work on your, you got to work on your puck handling or something. And I'd be like, my puck handling's good. Jack would say, well, Darren, Bob's right. We got to work on this and that. And then Paulie would say something. And then, I'd say something like, I can't work on my size. Like, I'm not getting any bigger. Like, I'll try to get quicker, I guess. And then Jack would say, Darren, you got to fear the worst and hope for the best. He always said that, fear the worst and hope for the best. I love that saying. And I think there's some great merit to that saying. And I'd be like, oh, here it comes. You go, fear the worst and hope for the best. Where am I going? Well, you're going to Saginaw. I'll probably be like, yeah, you're going to Saginaw, and you're going to be the main guy in Saginaw, and you're not going to the American League because they don't play our goalies, and they play the Edmonton goalies. So you're going to go there. When you get called up, you're going to be right here. And Jack would go, yeah, that's right, Darren. You're going to go to Saginaw, and you're going to play there. So that, so I called him. I was very confident in the fact that if I got called up, that I could play. And so it ends up that I got called up in the playoffs. They went back and forth on whether or not I was playing or not. I was told I was starting against Toronto in best of 3 or best of 5 series. And they bailed off. They bailed away on me, and they played Bob Sauvé, and we ended up, he had a bad back. And in hindsight, they should have just played me. Even Bob said that years later. But then the next year I made the team. So I think being, I'm not saying that's not, is it cocky? Is it confident? Is it brash? I don't know. I just think that I knew I had a, very little chance to play in the NHL, and I thought that I should take it upon myself and make the phone call. And what's the worst thing that could happen? I don't get called up. I don't play. The best thing that happened is I did get called up. I ended up playing almost 100 games in the NHL, and I get to talk about it now. So, so it worked out pretty well. And I got out of the game fast enough to be in broadcast. And so as Kelly Chase once said, Wayne Van Dorp didn't ruin your career. He started your career. Attaboy, Chaser. Well said.
Let's take a break. We'll come back with more with Darren Pang on 100% Hockey with Millard and Shannon.
Car shopping should be exciting, not exhausting. That's where Car Gurus comes in. They have advanced search tools, unbiased deal ratings, and price history, so you know a great deal when you see one. It's no wonder that Car Gurus is the #1 rated car shopping app in Canada. When you're car shopping on your phone, it shouldn't be a maze. You need to see all the information. With the Car Gurus app, you can. Powerful search tools that you see deal ratings, price history, and dealer reviews on listings all in one place. And you can turn on real-time price drop alerts so you never miss a great deal. Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships when you're ready, ensuring a transparent, hassle-free buying process. Buy your next car today at cargurus.ca. make sure your deal is the best deal. That's CARGURUS.ca. CarGurus.ca.
How was your winter classic? Pool looked fun.
Oh, the pool was great. Pool was great here. I had a good old time like always. The pregame show wraparound, they call it, or whip around. I know that Jackie Redmond and we're in the entertainment business at that point, right, John? I mean, it's not going to go whipping around to me, and I'm going to break down you got Boucher between the bench. You got Eddie Olchuk there calling the game. I'm a sideline reporter that doing interviews with players. I thought, all right, Jackie, we're going to have some fun. And so I tried to get Jackie to go in the pool with me, but she had to go do the cold side on the other side. I think it would have been better if. But anyway, doing what I did, I'm like, I'm all in. I tried to get a cigar lit, and I did have that was a cocktail in there, by the way.
It was.
Yeah, in the coconut thing. Well, she said, you're the only one that gets permission to have a cocktail. So I went and I found a high noon, and thought I'd have a quick sip of a high noon, and I thought I got to play the part.
I tell you what. If somebody's listening to this podcast for the first time and listening to you for the first, that's lovely. You've been to the bar in Saginaw, you've been to the bar at United Center, and now you're drinking in a pool. What else do you do other than broadcast? Now is the question. I mean,
you know how you endear yourself to your teammates. you gotta go out. You gotta go out as long as you do it responsibly, John. That's the biggest thing.
Drink responsibly
and take care of yourself. And I'm glad I do that. I'm blessed. I'm blessed with that ability.
Did you take your golf clubs to Miami though?
I did not actually. They're actually right here. Wait a second.
What brand are they?
Oh, they're Miras, as you can see right here. They just happen to be right there. My goodness. I'll be darned. Oh, that's good.
Okay, that's good. We've done it. There it is. Yeah, there's our blatant plug for the golf company. That's good.
I didn't because I flew in the night before. Practices were at 1:00.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, there was a little bit of a cold front. So you've got a little frost delay in the morning. So unless I could play at 7:30 or 8:00, I couldn't get it back for the practice.
But you did investigate it though, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Ed Jovanovski is a member at a number of, two clubs there, I guess. And one of them is called Adios. And so he was the one setting it up, but it was January 1st. There was a lot going on. And so we didn't end up doing it, which is a shame. But I did play in Orlando in December in a pro rival golf tournament that's funded by a Texas billionaire that John Smoltz is the commissioner of it. It's all ex-athletes. They're all good players. The MLB is just kicking everybody in the pants. They're playing outstanding. Joe Pavelski won in Alabama in August, but he couldn't play in this one because he was being inducted into the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. So anyway, a fellow named Kyle Clippard, an old pitcher, he ended up winning it all in a playoff. But so that was the last time I played. I'm going to go hit balls indoor today with Mike Vellucci, our assistant coach. We're going to go bang him around in an indoor simulator place.
And you'll talk about hockey a little bit. How close are Chicago?
For sure.
You've won 3 in a row. You're kind of on the back end of the Bedard injury.
Darren has it. The Blackhawks have.
Wow. No. Yeah, you're right. I will them to victory, John. You know.
I tell you what, I was feeling for you last night, trying to get Tyler Bertuzzi to say a few more words.
I know. He's.
I've never seen. Watching you do that interview post game was. Oh, you are trying hard, big boy.
Yeah. Well, I thought trying hard with Mika Zibanejad in the Winter Classic.
Yes. Oh,
he's he was saying it just before we went on the air. He goes, "Oh, I don't like this. This isn't for me. I'm uncomfortable for this kind of stuff." I'm like, "But like you're the
story.
You're the Coco Cup MVP of the Winter Classic. You're the first Swede ever. We've only done it for 3 years. First Swede ever to win the Coco Cup MVP. And that was tough. And but yeah, Bert's. But you know what? I did interview Bert after the first period, and so that was a lot for Bert, having 2 interviews in one game. But I will say this about Tyler Bertuzzi, and I've told him this. I didn't really know Tyler Bertuzzi. I had a perception of maybe what kind of player he was. I watched him. I'd seen him on the bench. I remember doing some games in Detroit, and he always seemed to be going down that hallway and changing his gloves and then coming back out and going for a spin. And I always kind of found him elusive. And that might be the best word. Even in the locker room, I'd go in the room, I'd want to talk to Tyler Bertuzzi, and he was gone. He's off the ice, first guy off the ice in practice, and gets out there and he's gone. So I'm kind of like, how am I going to get to know this guy? And so I got a phone call from Dylan Larkin, who's they're really good buddies. And I play a little bit of golf in the summertime. I'm in Michigan, so I see Dylan a little bit. And he said, got to take care of my boy. And I'm like, Bert? And he says, yeah. And I go, man, I don't know about Bert. Like, I don't know him. And I never gotten to know the guy. He says, you're going to love this guy. Just a simple guy from Sudbury and whatever. So I go in the locker room in training camp, can't find Bert. Next day, go in the locker room in training camp, can't find Bert. So I finally tell a PR person, I said, hey, can you please get Tyler Bertuzzi out here so I can talk to him? I sit him down. I go, listen, Bert, a lot of people tell me that I got to get to know you. And so, but every time I come in this locker room, you're gone. I said, can we have a few minutes? So anyway, we chatted it up and I made him laugh, and he's got this infectious laugh to him too. And he's got the, no tooth in the front. He's got the hair flying all over the place. And so I was laughing and I'm getting to know him. And then as it went on last year, I saw how much he loved the game of hockey and cares about winning and cares about winning hockey. And very frustrating last year for everybody. And then this year he came on board and he was ready to play. He's a notoriously slow starter. They didn't need him to be a slow starter. I think having Jeff Blashill here as his coach and a guy that Blash trusts him, he trusts Blash. And man, has he been a different player and good. So the interview part of it, I still have fun with it because I tell him all the time, I said, you're playing great because of the new clothing thing, right? You don't have to wear a suit and a tie and dress up. You can dress like you're trying out for Duck Dynasty. And I said it on the air one time and he thought that was funny. Here comes Bert. Yeah, there he is. He's going out for Duck Dynasty again. He's got the hat. He's got the camouflage. He's got the Uggs or something. He's walking. I mean, he's walking in like you wouldn't even know, you'd think that he just came off the street, hunting something. So anyway, so now I've had some fun with that. And I really, really, really enjoy being around the guy. And I love the way he's playing. I think this is the best hockey he's ever played. He's on pace for 45 goals right now after scoring 3 last night. That's a
just wondering, do you think he's had a bad rap? Has he had a bad rap?
Yeah. Well, I think he's had a bad rap just because if you don't appreciate the game of hockey that he plays, John, I think my appreciation to that down low game comes from being in St. Louis with Craig Berube. Mm-hmm. Seeing the Pat Maroons and the Ryan O'Reillys and the Oscar Sundqvists and the when you have a coach that encourages that kind of hockey, then those players look good. If you have a coach that encourages everything on the rush, first man in, real hard, or what have you, whatever the system might be, he might get lost in translation because his skating doesn't look as eloquent as somebody else, and he maybe doesn't get in there right away. But what he does do is he wins board battles. So if you appreciate board battles being won, which that's what happens in the playoffs, that's what wins playoff games, winning the board battle and winning the race to the net. That's what he does. So yeah, I think he has been, but I think he was pressured to get ready for this year too from Blashill. Mm-hmm. The Hawks could not afford a slow start, and they couldn't afford one of their top players to have a slow start. And I think he took that personally. Last night after the first period on CHSN, I just asked him about his shot. Did you work on your shot in the off season? He said, I'd be lying if I told you I worked on my shot in the off season. I mean, that's how he said it. I'd be lying to you. I said, he could have made anything up. Yeah. I shot duck and then I worked on my shot in the garage or something, but no, not Bert. I love it. Very transparent person. Very honest.
I love
person.
the way he plays the weak side too. He goes down on that one knee and uses his skate and his stick and his leg. And I'm surprised more people haven't copied it. Yeah, his hair.
He has said though Crosby is one of the best at it. And you start watching a guy, and you're like, wow. I mean, there's something to this. It can go off your knee and go in the net. Why wouldn't you? It can go off your skate if your skate's still and you're dragging a leg. It's a goal. It can go off your stick, off your skate, and in the net because it's not a kicking motion. It's brilliant, actually. Brilliant.
Connor Bedard. How long? When do you think he's back?
I think he's going to be. Jeff Blashill anyway said that he expects him back before the Olympic break. That's pretty vague. Mm-hmm. But I have seen Connor both skating on the ice and walking around, and he's got an unbelievable attitude. I haven't seen him shoot any pucks. I've seen him. He's been stick handling, skating, edge work, and all that kind of stuff to make sure that he's ready to go. So I would have thought that it would have been another couple of weeks, but of course I run the team from between the benches, as you said, coached them, played goal, got them some goals, taught Bert how to get the one leg down there. I do a lot down there between the benches. Yeah. And everybody should know this is all in jest. I like my job. I know my seat on the bus. But I really enjoyed obviously being around Connor and the way that he's handled everything, even the injury. He's got such a dynamic personality, a real positive guy. And I'd asked him about his plans in February. I prefaced it by saying, listen, if the Olympics doesn't happen, and he's like, I think I'm probably, he said to me, I think I'm on the outside looking in right now. And I think that was before he got hurt or just when he got hurt. And he said, I think I'm going to plan some golf, some of us guys, because he's really into golf right now. And so he said, like, I might be there, I might not be there, but if I'm not there, I'm gonna go have some fun and play some golf. And so he's got a great attitude. He's been a real leader on this team. The guys really, they were blown away when he got hurt, and they're galvanized with this guy. He's done a phenomenal job. Can't wait for him to get back.
2 points out of the playoffs, the Chicago Blackhawks, as we wake up today. Can you compare the difference between last year and this year? Is it possible?
I can't. No, I can't. I mean, last year I loved what they did in bringing in Alec Martinez and Pat Maroon. Luke Richardson started as the coach, and for whatever reason, the team just consistently just wouldn't put it together all the time. And I think you had a morphine of are we playing a down low game, or are we playing this kind of game? What kind of game are we playing? And then with a whole new set of coaches, Anders Sorensen was kept on, which he's a phenomenal coach, and he's running the D. I think the coaching staff and the players, knowing that the coaching staff came in, they signed 4-year deals. They all have great experience in the league. You got Mike Pekka, that's got more Selke awards than anybody in Blackhawk history. Dirk Graham won 1, Troy Murray won 1. So you got a really reputable guy that's good on the faceoff dot, one of the best defending forwards in the history of the game. And then you've got, Mike Vellucci's interviewed for several head coaching jobs and got a wealth of experience and spent 5 years with Sidney Crosby. And then you've got Blash, who starts out in Detroit, ends up in his last 3 years, really learned a lot from Coop, and had, a guy like Kucherov and Braden Point. So all this information was able to be brought into training camp, and I think they did a great job of showing them winning and losing hockey. So I'm not taking away anything from the previous coaches, but I think this was the time. And with Pat Maroon retiring and Alec Martinez retiring, now Connor comes into that locker room and literally it's his room. It's Tyler Bertuzzi's room. It's Jason Dickinson and Connor Murphy. But it's not the old guys versus the young guys. It's everybody together. And I think their structure, the way that the coaches are teaching and enforcing has been great, because they don't let the players off the hook. And even when they went on a dry spell, they still went back to structure and practice. They went back to the basics. They didn't let them slide. And so every time they fall off a little bit, they take 2 steps backwards. They'll climb back with 1 step forward and 1 step forward. And even if they go back a couple, they come back again. Mm-hmm. So really, really impressive. So are they ready for that next step? I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I watch them play and I'm like, oh my goodness, they just beat Dallas twice. And they Vegas is a very, very strong defending team. And I just think they're trending in the right direction. So whether they keep this up or not, all I know is I've really enjoyed watching them grow, from the Ryan Greens to the Oliver Moores to Rinzel got sent down. Even Artie Levshinov, if you watch him play now, it's like, whoa. Like Artie's on his toes now. Yeah. He's doing things that you're like, okay, I see what they saw in him playing for Muskegon of the USHL and Michigan State. And so the coaches have been patient. They know what their role is to get these players to a winning environment and winning culture. And all in all, they're doing well. And the fans, I mean, the average attendance is 19,000. Yeah. They're showing up every night, and they're proud fans to be watching this hockey team again. So I can feel it. I couldn't feel it last year. I can feel
accountability is something that I've heard over and over around the team from last year, this year. And then this is one of those new phrases, new world phrases, tactical identity.
Oh my God. Are we going to use that? Tactical identity.
So borrow that one if you want, Pang. But the difference between last year and this year, tactical identity.
Tactical, yes. I mean, like number one, the tactician is the coach, and he comes in and he implements basically a 1-1-3 that John Cooper is well known. Many coaches do a 1-1-3. Some do a 1-3-1. Some do a 1-2-2. But basically, he wanted to implement something that was going to be structurally sound through the neutral zone. They call it a board, like a board side lock. So you call a left wing lock in the second period, right wing lock in the first and the third period. And some games, the winger dives in and leaves his spot, and it's the D is kind of like, hey, whoa, that's your side over there. And then other games, it's like, wow, that is fantastic. The down low game, getting the first man in, having a third man high, just things that are simply, yes, tactically structured is what you have to have in this league. You can't freelance in this league. There's very few teams that are good enough to freelance, and maybe Colorado could do it, but even they don't freelance. They know where their spots are on the ice and where their pressure points are, and that's how they get so many chances. And I think a lot of teams emulate that style of play, and especially when you've got Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar and players like that, and they're going to have Anton Frondel, and they're going to have Kantsarov, the Russian that's ripping up the KHL, and Nestrasil that has played well in the World Junior. So it all looks very, very bright in terms of the types of prospects that are coming up as well to complement the group that's here.
Not to beat a dead horse, but the perception is that Connor Bedard has matured, has grown up a lot. There were lots of stories over years 1 and 2 of his deal that he whined, but we certainly haven't seen that this season, Darren.
No, I didn't.
Other than the one incident with the referee, which he was probably right on, but he just shouldn't have done it.
He's I tell you what, and even in the first 2 years, I mean, he was a complete pro. He just didn't have that. I don't want to speak for him because confidence is something he's not lacking. Very confident person, but maybe on the personable side, the affable side, the hey, how you doing today side, going through the summertime and working on his game and hanging out with his buddies and training and getting ready for the year and playing some golf and going out and having dinners with his players that I think that part of life in his third year brought him back to training camp as a person that said, hey, like, I'm enjoying everything. And I can tell he's enjoying everything. He's enjoying talking to people. When somebody walks into the room and I say, hey, Connor, this is so-and-so, it's Shane Knighty, analyst for the Vegas Golden Knights. And he's like, oh, hey, Shane, how you doing? The prior years, it would have been a tougher conversation. Right, it just was kind of like not the head down all the way, but it took a little bit more to get him going. Now he's the one that's initiating conversation. You walk through the hallway, he doesn't have his head down going through. He's got his head up and he's like, hey, and introduce him to somebody. And it's just been unbelievable. And the young guys, he and Frank Nazar, they're great together, and they're roomies on the road, and they have fun together. They do a lot of skits for the Blackhawks, and they're not afraid to put themselves out there and have some fun. And years will go on, and they'll look back at some of these things, and they'll be, look at us guys, man. We were two young fellas just goofing around. And but the other part about the ice, listen, I remember when Sidney Crosby started, and if he had a hard time with a referee. I remember Mario having a hard time with the referees. All the great players, and then they get frustrated and they get mad. And Connor got mad at that referee, and then he got a 10. And he's, I think he's learned too in those situations that, oh boy, maybe there's another way for me to do that as well, and have conversations with linesmen, because that gets frustrating. You're trying to win faceoffs, and the linesmen's dropping the puck, maybe a little in favor of the other guy, or maybe his skates get in the way of you pulling it back. And instead of maybe being aggressive on the linesman, Mike Pekka and the coaching staff are saying, hey, let's get relationships with the linesmen. Let's get relationships with the referees, because you're going to be here a long time and they're going to be here a long time. So those are the types of things that every young player, has to go through and deal with a little bit better.
What does that contract look like?
Oh, that's a good question, but whatever it is, he's worth every bit of it. It's worth every bit of it. So I'll say, if it starts with throwing out numbers is not fair, but
I can throw it out. I think it's got to be 14.
So I was going to say it's 12. So he was very, I think he's very confident in the fact that he was going to have a great year with the way he trained, the way he got more explosive and quicker going forward. I love the fact that, he didn't just, whether or not there was a deal in place, I'd have to assume that there was something there available to sign to get him under lock and key. Well, now his cards just came up aces, and if we're playing euchre, he's got the 2 Bowers in his hand right now. So good for him.
Well,
because
it might have been 12 at the start of the season, and now it's 14.
yeah, and he's playing and I like what Jeff Blashill said. He's playing winning hockey every shift. He's not playing cheating hockey, hoping hockey. He's playing winning hockey. Stops and starts, good on pucks. His face-off percentage is up to 48. It was 33 last year. He was a minus a billion leading the Masters, and now he's a +8. 5-on-5. He's playing against other teams' best players. He's a +8. So yeah, all in all, really, really impressive. He's growing every single day, getting better and better.
What's his golf game like?
He hits a little cutter. And so I brought him to Club Champion. We did a fitting, 3 hours with him to do this fitting. And we went through a whole bunch of clubs, and
was this for TV or just you guys hanging out?
No, he asked me if I could help him out with golf.
Good for you.
I said, absolutely. I said, I'll set it up at Club Champion. It's about 2 blocks from my place in River North. And I said, I go there all the time. I hit balls. I tweak my clubs. And he goes,
what kind of clubs do you have, by the way?
Oh, I have Miras here, by the way. They're Mira clubs.
Just
see
checking.
Right
there? Okay. Hasn't changed from the previous segments.
No,
good. Okay.
No, it has not. But so we go there, and it's funny. I'm like, hey, let's go back to that shaft. And the pros that are there are saying, let's go back to the one shaft, and they twirl the head on there. They get the different shaft, and everybody looks around, and there's 4 of us there, and we're like, that's the one. Connor, how's that feel? And he goes, that's the one. Little buttery. He's got a little butter, just a little bit of a butter cut. And he's hitting his 6 irons about 185, 189. Then we got the putter, got the wedges, got everything going. So funny thing is, the next day was the practice day, and I saw him, and I'm like, that was awesome. He goes, thanks very much. That was so much fun. Next day, he gets his first NHL hat trick. Doing an interview with him, just, the interview on the ice, and it goes out to the crowd and it goes on the TV side. And before we start, I go, listen, we're going to have to go hit golf balls all the time if you're going to keep scoring 3 goals. He said something like, no, I'm still hurting on my left side. He goes, man, my left side is killing me right now. Wow. 3 hours of hitting golf balls. Anyway, he got the hat trick. Everything was good. And then, so he loves that part of it. He loves the golf. So during the year, the team was out west, and Sam Lafferty, who's an excellent golfer, like a +3 or a +3, and they got set up to play at Riviera. I mean, one of the great country clubs in all of the world.
Great golf course.
And so Lafferty and Connor were partners, and I guess they took all the Do-Re-Mi, Bertuzzi, and a bunch of the boys playing them, and Connor went 3 over on the back. So he was, he's excited about things other than, hockey and stick handling and shooting pucks. And it's, so that's the kind of camaraderie that people may not see here in Chicago, that every really good team and every really great player, they have that. And he's in the middle of it all with these guys, whether it's playing cards or, going out and playing golf. So since then we did do a simulator feature for the Blackhawks. For every shift that they do. And we just had a blast, and Connor was leading the charge again and having some fun. He was all mic'd up. He was giving it to me on the mic, and it was good. I love it. I'm very lucky. And I'll say this, and every broadcast would say the same thing. Like Edzo and Pat Foley would say the same thing with that great run with those players in championships. But for any one of us that are calling games for a team, and you have a real star that's a real personable guy, that's a guy that, that you're going to be the soundtrack for his great moments, is an honor. Very, very lucky. I know Patrick Kane has said that, even in his short time in Detroit, about the broadcast group there. And I'm sure that, Sydney thinks the same way about that. We're lucky. We're the lucky ones. Me and Rick Ball, we're the lucky ones that we get to be there. So.
Wrap it up this way. I've never heard you turning down a tea time before, but you went to the bar across the street at Madison Avenue instead of going for tea for the American Doll. Just thought I'd throw that at you.
Yeah, you stop with the puns. Stop it.
It was tea time.
Stop it.
It was tea time. I've been sitting on that
Hey,
for
by
a
the
while.
way, say hello to Rick
You've
Ball
been sitting
for
on
us.
that for a while, haven't you?
Yeah. Say hello to our pal Rick Ball.
Oh, the Emmy Award-winning Rick Ball, you mean?
Oh,
Yeah.
he won a local Emmy?
He got his first local Emmy
Fantastic.
on the call we had last April 4th in Washington when Ovechkin tied Wayne Gretzky.
Wow.
As a visiting team, it was a great thing. The whole broadcast got an Emmy, but individually, Rick Ball got an Emmy for his call. He's having a blast here in Chicago. He's loving life and calling the heck out of it. I'm, again, lucky guy to have him here.
You're a good man.
Good BC boy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Panger.
Thank you, guys. You
Go
guys
have
have
a
a great
nap.
day.
Go have a
No
nap.
chance. Gonna go hit some balls. Me and Vellucci
That's better.
with my Mira clubs.
With the NHL app, you can listen to every NHL game right from your phone. And with home and away broadcast feeds, you choose your way to listen. Whether you're at work, at the gym, or stuck in traffic, the NHL app puts you right in the action all season long. Every team, every game, everywhere you go. Download the NHL app and never miss a moment.
That was a cool story about Bedard asking Panger just for a little guidance on the golf course, going and getting clubs fit and so forth.
Yeah, you'd have to think with the build of a hockey player that if you can do the weight transfer like you could do the weight transfer on the ice, you can do the weight transfer that you can hit the ball a long way or little. What did he call it? A little butter hook?
Butter cut.
Butter cut. That's what it was. A little butter cut. Daren loves his golf.
The idea that a star player like that would go to Panger and say, "Hey, can you help me out with this?" To be a cool fly on the wall. Whoever did the fitting there at Club Champion, that would have been an experience. Just thinking like fan perspective on that. Did you see the couple of what we call sucker punches on the weekend?
Yep. Logan Stanley, John Beecher. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a place in the game, and the league responded quickly. Both of them got game suspensions, deserved. There's some.
Did it deserve more than a game, or was a game too much? Do you say that's part of our sport and you got to be ready for it?
Sucker punches are part of the sport. Sucker punches are different than fighting. I'm not a big fighting advocate, as you know, but sucker punches are worse than that. Sucker punches are like low bridges. Sucker punches are like hits from behind. That's I still remember the Scott Walker, Aaron Ward one from the playoffs. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
Carolina, Boston. There's just no place for it. There's just no place for it. And that's, I know some people are going to smirk and say, but the whole concept of the violence of our game, there is an honor in it. There is an honor, and to sucker punch somebody, there is no honor. That's not honorable. And so, learn your lesson, Logan, John, you're going to get docked a bit of money and think about it. I have no problem with it.
And the next game that you face them, you're going to have to answer for it. That's the other part of it.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, and then the league's going to have to monitor that part too, right? And understand it. It's like the Florida Tampa rivalry. The league is trying to keep an eye on that one and keep a handle on it. By the way, just as a total non sequitur.
What jumped in your head?
Well, what jumped in my head was Darren's description of Tyler Bertuzzi. The hair, the clothes, the teeth. I think this is a very Canadian thing. I think we could do an all-Shoresy team. And so you got Bertuzzi, you got Brandon Tanev. I'm going to throw Drew Doughty in there. So we need.
Yeah, Doughty's your captain.
We need three more. We need three more people to be on the all Shoresy team
Okay.
and then get a team picture.
All right, listeners, you love the podcast. This is your moment to interact with us. If you don't know Shoresy, Google it. It's a great production that's based out of Canada, but has really gained traction in the United States.
It's on Crave in Canada.
It's sort of part of the hockey culture. It mocks a little bit, but it nails a lot of it. Let us know who's your all Shoresy team.
The all Shoresy team.
We will bring it to you in a couple of days when we're back.
Yeah,
I've got a couple ideas, but I want to, before I start throwing out names and potentially leaving somebody out, I'm going to do some digging on this.
All right,
this is way better than digging into analytics.
Trust me. Hey, by the way, before we go, I just want to welcome Car Gurus to the 100% Hockey World, our new sponsor, CarGurus.com.
I leave for a couple of days and Car Gurus joins us. That's great.
Well, you know what? The show it's grown in popularity a very short period of time.
That's impressive. Well done. I might take Wednesday off then. See what happens.
I only take the days off that end in Y, so it's okay.
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. It's 100% Hockey. We've enjoyed this with Darren Pang. We'll talk to you next time as we delve into the world of the National Hockey League.